Hey coin lovers! Welcome to the Worth Old Coins channel, your place to discover the hidden value and rare facts about old coins. In today's video we're revealing the top 5 valuable coins, and one of them might just be in your collection. So don't skip this video, let's find out their real worth. Top 1. The 1975 D Lincoln Cent, a small copper coin struck for everyday circulation at the Denver Mint and carrying the tiny D mint mark just beneath the date on the obverse, stands as a representative of America's longest-running coin series and captures the nation's economic and artistic choices in the mid-1970s. Although popularly called a penny, its official denomination is 1 cent, and it continues the beloved Lincoln cent design. Introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the coin is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, the traditional bronze alloy that had been used for most Lincoln cents since the early 20th century, giving it a warm reddish-brown hue and a mass of 3.11 grams with a 19.05 mm diameter and a plain smooth edge. On the obverse, the familiar right-facing portrait of Lincoln, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, shows the president's thoughtful gaze and distinctive beard, surrounded by the inscriptions "In God We Trust" at the upper rim, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1975 to the right, with the small d indicating Denver's production. The reverse, in use from 1959 through 2008, features the detailed image of the Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparo, complete with a statue of Lincoln faintly visible between the central columns if examined with magnification, a subtle tribute that allows the obverse and reverse to display Lincoln's likeness simultaneously. Around the design run the inscriptions "United States of America" and "E Pluribus Unum," with the denomination 1 cent at the bottom. In 1975, the Denver Mint struck billions of these coins, over 4.5 billion pieces, making it one of the most common dates of the series, a true workhorse of commerce during a decade marked by post-Vietnam adjustments, the lingering aftereffects of the 1973 oil crisis, and steadily rising inflation that gave the humble cent less purchasing power than ever before. Yet these cents were everywhere, clinking in vending machines lining cash drawers, and jingling in pockets across the United States. Collectors today consider the 1975 D Lincoln cent readily available in circulated grades, but coins preserved in pristine mint state, red MS 65 or higher condition, remain appealing because their copper surfaces retain the original fiery luster that quickly fades to brown once exposed to the air. Specialists also search rolls for minor die varieties such as double dies or repunched mint marks that can add interest and value despite the date's overall abundance. Historically, the coin sits just a few years before the Treasury's dramatic change in 1982, when copper prices forced a shift to a copper-plated zinc composition, so the 1975 D represents the classic heavy bronze era of the Lincoln cent and evokes the tactile feel and ringing sound that later zinc cents lack. More than a mere piece of pocket change, the 1975 D 1 cent coin is a durable artifact of mid-1970s America. It embodies the nation's reverence for Abraham Lincoln, the practical adaptation of durable copper metallurgy, and the economic realities of a time when even the smallest coin carried symbolic weight as a reminder of shared history, democratic ideals, and the everyday transactions that knit together American life. Top 2. The 1974 D Lincoln Cent, often casually called the 1 cent or penny, is an important issue within the long-running Lincoln Cent series of the United States Mint, a series first introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, and by 1974 it had already become a beloved and familiar coin in American commerce and culture. Struck at the Denver Mint as indicated by the small D mint mark beneath the date on the obverse, this coin was produced during a transitional moment in U.S. numismatic and economic history, reflecting both the enduring design legacy of sculptor Victor David Brenner and the economic pressures of rising copper prices in the early 1970s. The obverse carries Brenner's original 1909 portrait of Lincoln, a bust facing right with the word "Liberty" to the left and the national motto "In God We Trust" arching above, while the date 1974 appears to the right of the portrait, just above the D mint mark, signifying the Denver facility in Colorado, which in that year struck well over 4 billion examples, making the 1974 D one of the most plentiful single-year issues in the entire cent series. The reverse continues the familiar Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. A detailed rendition of the neoclassical monument with the denomination 1 cent and the legend "United States of America" surrounding it, and the motto "E Pluribus Unum" above the memorial's roofline. Collectors often enjoy noting that, under magnification, a tiny seated figure of the Lincoln statue can be discerned between the memorial's central columns. In terms of composition, the regular 1974 D cents were struck in the long standard alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving the coins an approximate weight of 3.11 grams and a diameter of 19 millimeters. With a plain edge, this traditional bronze alloy had been used almost continuously since 1864, but by the early 1970s the market price of copper was climbing high enough that the intrinsic metal value of a cent approached or even occasionally exceeded its face value, causing the U.S. Mint to explore alternatives. Indeed, 1974 is historically significant because it coincided with experiments in minting cents from aluminum to save on metal costs while the Denver Mint's regular production stayed in bronze. A limited number of aluminum trial pieces were struck at the Philadelphia Mint and perhaps Denver for evaluation, and these aluminum cents, never officially released, remain the stuff of modern numismatic legend, with only a few surviving specimens known and fiercely sought by collectors, though technically they are government property and not legal to own from a circulation standpoint. The 1974 D-cent was a workhorse of American commerce, passing through millions of hands in an era of gasoline shortages, post-Vietnam economic adjustment, and changing consumer prices. It exemplifies how a small, humble coin can be a silent witness to a nation's daily life. Condition and rarity play a key role in value. Because of the enormous mintage, worn examples typically trade only for face value, but coins that have never entered circulation and retain full original mint luster, graded mint state by services such as PCGS or NGC, can command modest premiums, especially in the highest grades like MS-67 or MS-68 red, where the surfaces are virtually flawless and the copper displays a brilliant, spot-free glow. Collectors also search for interesting die varieties and errors among 1974 D cents, including double die obverse or reverses, repunched mint marks off-center strikes, and striking anomalies such as clipped planchets or broad strikes, all of which can add intrigue and potential value. Careful storage is important for anyone wishing to preserve the coin's rich reddish-orange color, as copper reacts readily with air and moisture, often turning brown over time. Numismatists typically recommend archival quality holders and low humidity environments to maintain the bright red designation prized in grading. Beyond its numismatic specifics, the 1974 D Lincoln cent offers a microcosm of mid-1970s America. The choice to retain a familiar presidential portrait amidst a period of political turbulence following the Watergate scandal, the tension between tradition and cost-cutting that prompted aluminum experiments, and the simple economic reality that even the smallest unit of currency reflects global metal markets and domestic policy. For students of U.S. coinage, this coin illustrates how design continuity can coexist with subtle changes such as the ever-evolving relief of Lincoln's bust or the sharpness of the memorial details depending on die wear, while also serving as a reminder that the Lincoln cent, though ubiquitous, is a direct link to more than a century of American history and artistry. Whether viewed as an everyday pocket piece, an affordable entry point for new collectors, or a tangible artifact of monetary policy debates, the 1974 D Lincoln cent stands as both a common coin and a quietly fascinating relic of its time, embodying the enduring story of the United States 1 cent at a time. Top 3. The 1973 D Lincoln cent, popularly known as the American 1 cent or penny, represents a fascinating chapter in the ongoing story of U.S. small-denomination coinage. Combining the classic artistry of Victor David Brenner's 1909 design with the economic realities of early 1970s America, struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado its identity marked by the small d below the date on the obverse. This coin forms part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, which by 1973 had already been in production for 64 years, making it one of the most familiar and enduring coins in the nation's history. The obverse displays Brenner's dignified right-facing bust of President Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president, surrounded above by the national motto "In God We Trust," balanced by the word liberty to the left and the date 1973 to the right, the D mint mark sitting just beneath the final digit of the year, signifying the Denver facility's output. The reverse carries the Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959 for the sesquicentennial of Lincoln's birth. A crisp neoclassical image of the famous Washington, D.C. monument, complete with a tiny but visible seated statue of Lincoln between the central columns, a detail that delights collectors armed with a magnifying glass and surrounded by inscriptions United States of America and 1 cent with the motto E pluribus unum just above the memorial's roofline. Each coin is struck in the long, standard bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it a diameter of 19 millimeters, a mass of about 3.11 grams, and a plain edge. This composition had been nearly continuous since 1864 and yields the rich reddish-orange color that fresh coins display when first struck. Although copper's natural tendency to tone means most survivors show a range of hues from bright red to brown depending on storage conditions. The Denver Mint produced an enormous quantity, over 3.5 billion pieces, ensuring that the 1973 D cent was ubiquitous in circulation during an era of fuel crises, changing consumer prices, and shifting its monetary policy, and as a result typical circulated examples remain common today and are generally worth only face value. Yet they offer a tangible link to the economic climate of the early 1970s when inflation and commodity prices, especially copper, were beginning to climb. This economic backdrop is significant because it set the stage for later changes. By the mid-1970s, copper prices would rise so high that the mint experimented with alternative metals, and although the aluminum cent trials are more closely associated with 1974, the conditions that inspired them were already present in 1973, making the 1973 D a last calm before the storm issue of the traditional bronze era. Numismatists value well-preserved pieces, and coins that have never circulated graded mint state MS by professional services such as PCGS or NGC can bring modest premiums, particularly those with blazing original red color in grades MS, 67 or better, which are scarcer because of copper's susceptibility to spots and oxidation. Collectors also search for die varieties and mint errors from this date and mint, including repunched mint marks, double die obverse or reverses off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other striking anomalies. Such errors can dramatically increase a coin's desirability and price depending on severity and eye appeal. Beyond the technical aspects, the 1973 D Lincoln cent serves as a quiet witness to its time. It circulated during the tail end of the Vietnam War, the unfolding Watergate scandal, and the first major oil crisis, carrying everyday Americans through a period of political tension and economic uncertainty while remaining a steadfast symbol of stability in the nation's currency. For collectors and historians alike, this small bronze disc embodies more than a monetary function. It represents a blend of art and industry, national identity, and the subtle interplay between commodity markets and government policy. Proper storage, such as in archival quality holders kept in low humidity environments, is essential to preserve the vivid copper color that grading services prize as red, since exposure to air and moisture will gradually darken the surface to a mellow brown. Whether examined under magnification for die characteristics, saved as part of a complete date and mint mark Lincoln cent set, or simply appreciated as a relic of a pivotal decade, the 1973 D 1 cent coin remains a small yet meaningful artifact of American history, uniting artistry, economics, and everyday life in a single copper circle that continues to circulate, be collected, and be studied more than half a century after it first left the Denver Mint. Top 4. The 1972 D Lincoln cent, often casually called the penny, though its official denomination is 1 cent, is a classic bronze coin that captures the design traditions, economic realities, and subtle variety of early 1970s United States coinage, struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado, as signified by the small D beneath the date on the obverse. It belongs to the venerable Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, a series that by 1972 had already been in continuous production for over 6 decades and was familiar to virtually every American. The obverse of the coin retains Victor David Brenner's enduring portrait of Lincoln facing right, his profile rendered with fine detail despite the heavy production demands of modern minting, surrounded above by the motto "In God We Trust," flanked on the left by Liberty and balanced on the right by the 4-digit date 1972, with the Denver D mint mark neatly tucked beneath the final numeral. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial design created by engraver Frank Gasparo for the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth in 1959, presenting a detailed neoclassical temple whose central columns reveal, under magnification, the tiny seated statue of Lincoln, an intricate touch that fascinates collectors, and bordered by the inscriptions United States of America and 1 cent with the motto E pluribus unum placed gracefully above the memorial's roofline. Each piece was struck in a long-standing bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it a diameter of about 19 millimeters, a weight of roughly 3.11 grams, and a plain, smooth edge. This rich copper composition imparts the warm reddish-orange color prized by collectors, though it is also susceptible to natural oxidation, causing many surviving coins to tone to shades of brown over time if not carefully stored. In 1972, the Denver Mint produced a massive mintage well over 2.6 billion coins, ensuring that the 1972 D cent became a true workhorse of American commerce during a period of inflationary pressure, post-Vietnam political tension, and the first signs of the energy crises that would define the decade, and as such, worn circulation examples remain extremely common today and typically trade only for face value. Nevertheless, uncirculated specimens with full original red color can command premiums, especially in the highest mint state grades MS, 67 or finer, certified by services such as PCGS or NGC, where exceptional luster and absence of spots or contact marks are rare despite the enormous mintage. Collectors also pursue striking anomalies and die varieties among 1972 D cents, such as repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, broad strikes, or clipped planchets, even though the most famous double die obverse of 1972 is associated with the Philadelphia Mint rather than Denver still. Denver issues occasionally reveal subtle double dies and other minor errors that intrigue specialists and can raise a coin's value considerably. Historically, this cent reflects a transitional moment. The U.S. Treasury was beginning to watch copper prices climb, a trend that within a few years would force serious discussions about changing the cent's composition, ultimately leading to the copper-plated zinc cents introduced in 1982, making the 1972 D part of the last full decade of traditional bronze issues. Proper preservation is crucial for collectors seeking to maintain the coin's coveted red designation, with archival holders and low humidity environments recommended to slow the natural darkening of copper surfaces. Beyond technical details, the 1972 D cent serves as a quiet witness to American life in the early 1970s, a period marked by the winding down of the Vietnam War, the emerging Watergate scandal, and shifting global economic dynamics. It jingled in the pockets of ordinary citizens buying gasoline at rapidly rising prices or paying for a loaf of bread whose cost reflected the inflation of the era, silently chronicling the everyday economic story of the nation. Today, whether admired as a historical artifact saved as part of a complete date and mint mark Lincoln cent collection, or simply appreciated for the artistry of its design and the warm glow of aged copper, the 1972 D Lincoln 1-cent coin remains both common and captivating, a small bronze emblem of America's enduring coinage traditions and the social and economic currents of its time, linking the world of Abraham Lincoln to the modern United States one humble cent at a time. Top 5. The 1966 Lincoln cent, universally called the American penny, though officially denominated 1 cent, is a bronze coin that carries the artistry of Victor David Brenner's original 1909 design and reflects a turbulent moment in United States monetary history, struck entirely at the Philadelphia Mint and notably without any mint mark. Because during the mid-1960s the U.S. Treasury temporarily removed mint marks to discourage speculative collecting amid a national coin shortage, this issue stands as a fascinating product of both tradition and crisis. The obverse maintains Brenner's enduring right-facing portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, America's revered 16th president, with the motto "In God We Trust" gracefully arching above, the word liberty to Lincoln's left, and the date 1966 to his right, all executed in sharp relief on a planchet of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a composition that had defined the cent for more than a century and lends each coin a warm reddish-orange tone when freshly struck. The reverse features chief engraver Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959 to mark the sesquicentennial of Lincoln's birth, showing the Washington, D.C. monument in meticulous miniature, complete with a tiny seated statue of Lincoln visible between the central columns under magnification, surrounded by the inscriptions "United States of America" and 1 cent, and topped by the motto "E pluribus unum," all struck within a smooth, plain-edged circle of bronze measuring about 19 millimeters in diameter and weighing approximately 3.11 grams. Historically, the 1966 cent belongs to the so-called Special Mint Set SMS era, a 3-year span from 1965 through 1967, when the U.S. Mint, facing a severe coin shortage and widespread hoarding of silver coins, suspended traditional proof set production and instead issued these hybrid collector sets with a distinctive satin-like finish. Although billions of regular circulation strikes were made for commerce, collectors especially prize the specially prepared 1966 SMS cents, which exhibit sharper detail and a unique semi-proof-like surface, and which today command premiums when well preserved. Because the government eliminated mint marks during these years, all 1966 cents appear identical in origin, whether intended for everyday commerce or for inclusion in the special mint sets, making die characteristics and surface quality the key identifiers for specialists. Production totals were immense, more than 2.2 billion pieces for circulation alone, so worn examples remain extremely common and typically trade only for face value. Yet uncirculated coins graded mint state red with full original copper brilliance, or the highest-end SMS pieces certified as specimen 68 or higher by services such as PCGS or NGC, can bring notable collector premiums, since copper's natural reactivity makes flawless preservation rare. Error enthusiasts also seek 1966 cents displaying off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, or double dies, though major dramatic varieties are scarce for this date, adding a subtle challenge to advanced collections. Beyond technical details, the 1966 cent offers a vivid window into the economic and cultural atmosphere of mid-1960s America. It circulated in pockets during the escalation of the Vietnam War, the rise of the Civil Rights Movement, and the early years of the Great Society programs, while also serving as a quiet witness to the country's transition away from silver coinage and toward modern clad compositions. For collectors today, Careful storage in archival quality holders is essential to retain the bright red copper designation that grading services prize, since even brief exposure to air and moisture will gradually deepen the surfaces to red-brown or full brown, subtly reducing market value. Whether admired as a symbol of Lincoln's enduring legacy, studied as part of the special mint set experiment, or appreciated as a humble yet eloquent artifact of a nation adapting to changing monetary realities, the 1966 Lincoln 1-cent coin stands as a small but resonant piece of American history, embodying both the steadfast continuity of a beloved design and the economic improvisation of a government determined to keep coins in circulation during a time of rapid social and financial change. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.